Why did Cuba face consumer goods and food shortages? Imagine living in a country where shelves are often empty and basic foods are hard to find. That's been the reality for many Cubans over the years. So why has this happened? Let's look at the facts. Cuba's shortages mainly come from external economic pressures and internal system issues. The biggest external factor is the long-standing economic blockade by the United States. This blockade stops Cuba from trading freely with many countries, making it tough to get essential imports like food, machinery, and raw materials. Because of this, Cuba had to ration what little they had to make sure everyone got a fair share. Internally, Cuba's socialist economy aimed to meet everyone's needs, but it faced problems. After the Cuban Revolution, the government took control of industries and planned the economy centrally. This often caused delays and reduced incentives for farmers and factories to produce more. Cuba relied heavily on the Soviet Union for food and industrial goods. They imported large amounts of staples like rice, beans, and cereals. When the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s, it was a huge blow. Known as the Special Period, this crisis cut off Cuba's main source of cheap food and support. Suddenly, food supplies shrank, and many Cubans saw their calorie intake drop. To cope, the government encouraged urban farming and small-scale agriculture on land owned by the state. They even had to switch to more organic farming because chemical fertilizers and pesticides became scarce. Price controls also played a part. The government set prices below what the market would normally charge. This made goods cheaper but discouraged producers from making more. As a result, shortages grew and black markets appeared. The government's goal was to keep essentials affordable, but this often conflicted with supply. From Cuba's point of view, these shortages aren't just failures of socialism. They see them as the result of external hostility, especially the U.S. blockade, which aims to weaken Cuba's economy and social gains. The government's rationing and control measures were meant to protect the population during tough times. So, in the end, Cuba's food and consumer goods shortages come from a mix of external sanctions, the collapse of Soviet support, internal inefficiencies, and price controls. The country responded with rationing, urban farming, and reforms to keep the people fed and clothed despite these challenges.